1021. That is 0700 1021. You can send WhatsApp message to our WhatsApp line on 0907 224 5018. 0907 224 5018. To the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have the caption there talking about the Nigerian doctors that have left the country en masse. Jagba, it said, our hospitals reduce outpatients surgeries as 4,000 doctors migrate. Jagba, hospitals reduce outpatients surgeries as 4,000 doctors migrate. Two riders to that story. 1,197 Nigerian doctors moved to UK since May 29. Since May 29, 700
that's after the inauguration.
Oh, okay, of Mr. President.
Yes.
Yes. And 789 Kano nurses, 162 doctors quit. Okay. OAUTH closes psychiatric unit over lack of nurses. Doctors fault 5% health budget. So
this is appalling.
it is, because currently now we are facing inflation in the country, with lots of the prices of food stuff going over the roof. Now we're having to deal with doctors in the health sector. Well, like you said, this is going to be a point of conversation with the guest this morning. And moving on to other stories above the nameplate. Budget, National Assembly, 6 agencies allocation rise to 40% to 1.4 trillion naira. Budget, National Assembly, 6 agencies allocations rise 40% to 1.4 trillion naira. Over 150,000 Nigerians applied for U.S. visas 2023. That's coming from the U.S. envoy. 150,000. Well, that's the United States alone.
The UK also
gave their figures.
I will try to get it out before the end of the program. The UK gave their figures. There's also a statistics for Canada.
Yes, these are the 3 countries,
So
major countries.
Most times when you hear some
Nigerians
Nigerians
living.
are leaving, you hear the UK, the US, Canada, and it's also the UK. I'm trying to get out the statistics for the number of Nigerians that migrated to the UK.
Should be more.
From January. For US, they pegged it as 150,000, but for the UK, I'm going to get that out.
All right. If that's just application, though, 150,000. Moving on to other stories. Besides that, tax default, FIRS waives fines, issues December 31 deadline. You get that story on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. Tax default. Federal Inland Revenue Service waives fines, issues December 31 deadline.
Right. So
okay.
just before you continue, very quickly, the Guardian newspaper, as at the 23rd of November 2023, says a total of 141,000 Nigerians migrated to the UK between June 2022 and June 2023. And then there's another statistics on Nairametrics that says 132,000 Nigerians got visas to the UK in the first half of 2023.
I think that's very, very possible, because if you look at the gap of those statistics, it's not too wide, not too far, not too wide apart. However, those ones actually left the country, while that of the United States, 150,000 are just for application.
For visas.
See that? Okay. Kano governor's aide arrested for alleged palliative looting.
Why am I not so surprised about this?
Okay. Kano governor's aide arrested for alleged palliative looting. It's on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. And to other stories, Ogun police student killed in fresh robbery attack. That's on page 5 of the Punch newspaper. Akwa Ibom coppers in kidnappers' den 4 months after abduction. That's good.
Insecurity.
I can't imagine what.
Corps members are not. I don't know. So yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody. Her sister was, she went to camp in an eastern state, and she's not used to, she's not from that side. And after a week, she actually fell ill, had series of attacks and all of that, and so she had to
Health-wise.
so she had to come back, and on her way back they couldn't reach her. She didn't even come by road. They couldn't reach her, and the first thing, her mom started to panic, asking if she wore her uniform, because there's already there's already that thing where okay, if you're traveling as a corps member, it's not advisable to go with your uniform, because most times or sometimes, I've seen cases where these people are specific targets, and the moment they see that you're a corps member, it's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third time we're seeing that in the history of kidnappings and insecurity in Nigeria. And on a normal day, normally one should be proud to put on the uniform, because it should give you some sort of I don't know the word, advantage, that's the word, advantage. But on the flip side, it feels like it's more threatening, it's a dangerous thing to even put it on when you want to travel or what have you, which is not a good thing for us as a country.
Yes, I think because criminals target these people when they're aware that these people are new in that vicinity, in that environment, so they want to take advantage of them, knowing that, well, before now, coppers are seen as the properties of the federal government. I think they are still seen as the properties of the federal government, and they enjoy lots of benefit. I could remember vividly in times past that when you don your copper uniform, you're even going to the stadium, you're serving in that state, and they are playing football. You don't pay, you just walk in straight. Or if you get anybody who harasses you, in fact, you move to the next military barracks or the next police station, you go and table down your matter, and I tell you, they'll come for whoever is threatening your life or your well-being. So absolutely. I hope it will return back to those days. And the last story on the front page of the Punch newspaper says, anger as Lagos mechanic's car crushes mother, 2 children. That's on pages 4 and 3 of the Punch newspaper.
Mother and 2 children.
Not good at all. Those are the stories making the rounds on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
From the Punch newspaper, we'll move to the Vanguard newspaper, but very quickly, the number to call us, be a part of the conversation, 0700-1021-1021. I take that again, 0700-1021-1021. You can send a WhatsApp message to 0907-224-5018. We're streaming live on Twitter at High Impact 1021 FM and on YouTube at High Impact 102.1 FM. Straight to the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Uproar over Nigeria's. Before we take that, we have a caller on the line already. Hello, good morning. Hello,
good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Israel.
Israel, where are you calling us from?
Calling from Ojodo.
Ojodo, all right, please go ahead.
It's a pity that we are facing such a thing at this time of time.
Hello, Mr. Israel, are you
Doctors
there?
live in this country.
Okay.
It's a serious issue. We're talking about health.
Could you please turn down
as it is now?
Mr. Israel, please kindly turn down the volume of your radio set so we can hear you properly.
Okay. Okay, are you hearing me now?
Yes, we can.
If the government cannot take blame, then who will take blame? This is totally government issue. The government they are not willing to do their work, and the thing is affecting society as a whole. Consultants are leaving the country. Fresh doctors are leaving the country. Any country that doesn't have health in place is in trouble. Shouldn't shy away from the truth. Good morning.
Thank you, Israel, from Ojodo, for sharing your thoughts with us on the migration
of
doctors. I would love you to keep listening, because that's going to be the premise of our conversation with our guest this morning. We'll ask him very intricate questions about this. But very quickly, let's move on to the Vanguard newspaper. Uproar over Nigeria's 1,411-man delegation to COP28. I saw this figure, and I just smiled. Now, the writer says federal government didn't fund all COP28 delegates. That's coming from the presidency. Obi Labour Party blast Tinubu, say high delegation waste of taxpayers' money. PDP demands roll call, cost incurred by federal government delegates. Asks National Assembly to commence probe, and the UK commits £100 million to assist Nigeria and others. Seeing the number of Nigerians or delegates that were at the COP28, you start to ask yourself, 1,411 persons. For what exactly?
Well, the government said they only have 590 delegates coming from Nigeria. What they paid for.
Even at 590, it's still...
Which is like 3 times what the UK or the EU have.
Exactly. It's still outrageous, considering the fact that we are an economy that is... we're struggling with inflation, rising debts, and all of that. We should be looking for a way to cut down cost and not put on more cost and debts on our shoulders. But the flip side to this is how the UK is set to commit £100 million to assist Nigeria and
other countries. And well, that's not far-fetched. I remember vividly the last time Mr. President, the former President Muhammadu Buhari went for COP28, for COP27. Yeah, if it's not COP27 or COP26. We remember when he himself and other African leaders were demanding hundreds of billions of dollars because we felt that African countries are less industrialized, and the more industrialized countries are the West, and they are the ones contributing massively to the depletion of the, what do you call it, ozone layer, and the green emissions of those gases that is, bringing, which is one of the causes of the climate change, the erosion, the flooding that we're experiencing across the world. I remember really Mr. former President Muhammadu Buhari making a heavy statement then, including other leaders of other African countries, including that of Ghana and South Africa. So if they're going to have that, and if you're having, I think, £100 million, I still think it's small. Because Nigeria contributes about, I think during the news I read about 0.39 something of carbon emissions, when we were talking about the United States about having like 5, others going to 7. That's the UK, 7.2, and all of that. China, India, and some of these countries, they are not backing down.
Right. But the UK commits 100 million.
Because if they back down, their economy might suffer.
I agree with you. But because of our time, we move very quickly. You can get more details of that story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. There's a pictorial representation of Tony Elumelu and Okonjo-Iweala at the COP28. And you want to get more details of that story on the inside page. Above the nameplate, how Intel's waived $193 million debt to resolve stalemate over pilotage contract. That's coming from the NPA. And the writer says, I won't benefit from federal government's reinstatement of Intel's contracts. That's coming from presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar. Besides that, NJC names new 11 justices for Supreme Court this week.
Great.
That's page 13 read. Away from that, National Assembly Committee to propose and commence quick amendment of sections of PIA. That's on page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper. Ex-Niger Governor Aliyu knocks northern leaders for setting region backwards. That's a page 13 read. Meanwhile, to the financial page, Nigeria's economy begins major shift as oil sector rebounds. Interesting. That's a page 19 read. SGF to Nigerians, keep faith. There's hope for Nigeria.
We've been doing that for a long time.
For years.
Well, we're going to continue doing that.
For years. We want to see results. That's at page 8. Read, JACPA, we interviewed over 150,000 Nigerians for visas in 2023. That's coming from the U.S. And finally, on the sports page of the Vanguard newspaper, 2023 AFCON final scored. We won't tolerate bench warmers in Super Eagles. NFF warns Pesero. That's on sports page 29, and those are the stories on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
And from the Vanguard newspaper, we're moving on to the Daily Trust newspaper. The central caption: outrage over Nigeria's 1,411 delegates to COP28 summit. We have about 5 riders to that story. Tinubu has turned climate change conference to Owambe. That's coming from Atiku. Of course, as the voice of an opposition, I expect that. And it's waste of resources, says Obi. Moving on, it's outrageous, insensitive. That's coming from the civil society organizations. And government-funded contingents less than 100. That's from the presidency. PDP demands a refund of ESTER codes, ask National Assembly to investigate a delegation. I just think it's just too much, please.
It's too much, way too much. Even countries that are,
except there is other business. I expect maybe the government to. There are other businesses who want to interrogate here, and we expect other government functionaries to take care of that.
Right.
Am I sounding like the presidential spokesperson?
Well,
Omobolade, that's the eyes you're looking at me.
Well.
Okay, moving on to other stories. APC Plateau Speaker lock-ons over swearing in of new lawmakers. Jakpa, we've interviewed 180,000 Nigerians this year, says U.S. Embassy. 3 months after, no dew on whereabouts of abducted Zamfara Varsity students.
That's very true. 3 months already when these students were abducted from their hostels. These terrorists went into the hostels.
3 months, yes.
Went in through the windows, the doors, broke the doors, and according to eyewitness, they took them away in these small buses, large number of students, and 3 months after, no one knows anything. I'm still asking myself, the newly appointed or inaugurated service chiefs, what exactly is going on?
The National Assembly will need to be on their toes to make sure they talk to our security chiefs all the time. Well, for time's sake, let's move on to other stories. FIRS grants waivers on tax penalties and liabilities. NSCDC personnel brutalize Anambra journalist, said media is Nigeria's problem. Please, that is so wrong. NSCDC personnel brutalize Anambra journalist, says media is Nigeria's problem. Media is not Nigeria's problem. In fact, if there's no media in Nigeria's problem,
if there's no media in Nigeria,
I beg your pardon. If there's no media in Nigeria, the problem would have been, I don't want to imagine that. But I remember very well in time past, the media there's this uproar if the NSCDC personnel should be allowed to carry guns.
Oh, no, yeah. But that conversation eventually, there was no, it wasn't given any form of finality. It was just left floating.
But obviously, it's obvious now that they carry guns, so it went through.
We cannot say they carry guns per se because
I've seen NSCDC officials carry guns
with live ammunition.
If they have guns, they will have ammunitions in it.
Let's move on very quickly because of our time.
NSCDC personnel brutalized Anambra journalist, said media is Nigeria's problem. 700 Palestinians killed as Israel renews a Gaza bombardment. 2 riders to that story. Pope Francis seeks a new ceasefire deal, and Gulf countries' diplomats meet in Dubai. Those are the stories making the rounds on front page of the Daily Trust newspaper.
And very quickly, because of our time, we'll move straight to the Guardian newspaper. Over 60 refinery licenses inactive 18 years after as fuel import thrives. This is December. We're hoping that the Port Harcourt refinery at least will kickstart. There's an infographics, a breakdown about how poses about intention to build despite receiving licenses. You want to take a look at it. You get all of these details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Intel's waived $193 million debts to resolve pilotage crisis. NPA confirms. It took that story as well on the Vanguard newspaper. Kanu uncovers diversion of palliatives, vow to punish corporates. That's on news page 28 of the Guardian newspaper. Teachers hold Subeb bus hostage, disrupt aptitude test in Duse. That's on news page 28. Beside that story, reject Wike's 15 billion naira befitting residence for vice president. Serap urges Senate. I saw this as well, and
I did.
15 billion naira befitting residence for vice president. Serap urges Senate. We'll get into the details of the story in a moment. That's on news page 4. NJC to select 11 new Supreme Court judges on Wednesday. Failed role. Female passenger dies. 2 injured in Lagos tanker accident. This is on Metro page 8, and it's a very sad story there. Knox Trail federal government's large delegation to COP28. Alleged waste of resources. That's on news page 6. And those are the stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. We'll take a break now. When we're back, we'll be having a conversation with our guest. To stay tuned.
Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Put a touch of class and finesse on your brand by advertising with us at High Impact 1021 FM. For more information, call
0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, or 0902 745 3931.
Follow us on our social media platforms at High Impact 1021 FM. Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying tuned. You're still listening to Newspaper Review on High Impact 102.1 FM, and we have our guest in person of Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, who joins us via phone call this morning. Good morning, Barrister Abdulhamid. Thank you for joining us on the news.
Good morning.
Yes, thank you. Very quickly, let's move into the conversation of the day. There's
What is it?
Can you hear me?
I am forcing myself to hear you.
Barrister Abdulhamid, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, very quickly, there's a headline on almost all the dailies this morning about JACPA, how hospitals are reducing their outpatients and surgeries, as well as over 4,000 doctors have migrated. And even in OAUTH, they have, closed some units over lack of nurses. As the doctors have also faulted the 5% health budget. We'd like to get your reaction to this, considering how important the health sector is, seeing all of these things happen in that area.
Health sector is one of the most important sector in everywhere in the world. You must have good health for you to live. That good health can live, and you can only have the good health when you have good maintenance for that health. And that is why our leaders, they find it comfortable to go abroad to go and get the quality service they needed, and leaving us behind to make do with whatever they left for us. I think it's unfortunate that our health sector have been neglected by the government for the past and even now. If you look at the budget, it's not to the right on my part. Even though I'm not a fan of looking at the paperwork of the budget, because it has never worked. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a mere paperwork that you will not even see the impact of the life of the people. They will tell you trillions of naira, billions of naira have been amassed for something. At the end of the day, you will not see anything. So, but you are also deliberately, you have to do something too to ensure that facilities are improved. And we're not having improved facility because most of the people in government have they have alternative. If we are all using the same public sector, the health centers or hospitals or whatever, I tell you, it will not be like this. It would have been upgraded to a better facility. But because they have that option of going abroad whenever they have any headache to take medical care, and our expenses, so that our common cost, majority of them, I'm not saying all of them, majority of them, 90% of them, use our common wealth to take care of themselves. So the government is not doing enough, and that's why you see the medical doctors and those in the sector have been crying out. And that's why you see some of them trying to relocate to a place where they can be appreciated and whereby they can be given whatever they need to do their work. You may have they talk about welfare is not being provided, they talk about the facility is not being provided, and then you expect them to stay there and then they just waste their life and their energy for nothing when people who have followed their content are there. And unfortunately, just 2 years ago, our former minister, Minister Inigi, told us that we have enough medical doctors in Nigeria. I don't know why they are complaining now that people are leaving the country and the medical doctors are leaving the country. For me, it's sad that what is happening today is something that has not even anticipated in the last 20 years back.
Right.
For me, I not only in the area of tech sector, the entire structure of our economy and our lives is being mishandled.
Right. Barrister Abdulhamid, you talked about how most of these people are not even using the healthcare facilities that are in the country. I would like to take you back to the NLC president in person of Joe Ajaero, who was, attacked, and there were talks at the time that he was in critical condition and maybe flown abroad for treatment. And this is the labor is like the body that speaks for the people, and seeing that even the labor itself seems to be towing this part, how then do we get to a situation where those at the helm of affairs and those that are supposedly fighting for the rights of Nigerians begin to use these things?
I think for me, I don't see any difference between labor and those in government. They're all in government. They only have a different role to play. Those who are in government, they are there to ensure our welfare are taken care of, and the security. Labor are also there to ensure that security are taken care of, welfare and security are taken care of. So they are all in the same category. The roles they play is different, and so they are all part of the. Unfortunately, for those who knows, they use those platforms just to get their profile high, and then they get to a better place. In terms of, you can see our former comrade, Damosi Omale, he was a governor after leaving that place. He was that. He's now a senator and that. So some of them just use that platform to upgrade their platform, their profile. It's not about you and I. I'm telling you the truth. If you take it or leave it, that's why I see. Most of them are not genuinely interested in the life of the people. They are just there for their own personal benefit. So I won't blame them. I won't just isolate the Labour president for going abroad. Like I said earlier on, he's also part of the government.
But sorry if I may interject here. That of Joe Ajaero's case happened not too long ago. I don't think it's even up to 2 months yet.
No.
Yeah, so could it be that it's because of the exodus of the doctors and the medical personnel in the hospital that necessitated his own medical attention abroad? That is just by the side. But on the other hand, could we interrogate a legislation that will mandate, just the way Nigerian lawmakers were talking about mandating Nigerian medical doctors to make sure they serve 10 years in this country before going abroad? Could we have another legislation that also moots the fact that Nigerian politicians who are holding public office must be mandated to use public institutions like the medical sector? And lastly, for a country like Nigeria having more than 200 million people, should we be talking about scarcity of medical doctors, where even because we have 4,000 of them just left the country? Couldn't we have like another 25,000, I beg your pardon, another 100,000 doctors more in the country?
Let me tell you the scarcity we're having today. Let me start from there. It's not because we don't have people who can fit the post. Well, the scarcity for me is just what's it called? A deliberate what's it called now? It's a deliberate effort to run our system, because those in government are not showing interest in developing it, because they have an option. Like I said, if the passing law or whatever say we should pass, without any corresponding attitude of our people, we don't change it. They will tell you, they'll give you one excuse or the other. They will tell you they are going to get. So that is, they know how to circumvent the law. So it is about being sincere, it's about being honest, about being interested. And if you see, when you talk about the issue, the fact that what's it called, our leaders, going abroad and then doing this and that, it's about showing us that there's no trust in our system. In other words, they don't believe in what they are leading, what they are.
Of course, what they are leading.
Yeah, they don't believe in it. And that's what I'm saying. If they believe in it, they will use it. They don't believe in it, they will not use it. And that is why you see what is happening today.
Right. Okay.
So for me, the point is that, look, we don't have people who are sincere, who are interested in our welfare, and most importantly, the upgrade of the system is not there. The welfare is not there. Nothing is there. It's not as if we are quality medical doctors. Those they meet abroad are Nigerians most times. The people who attend to them abroad are most likely Nigerians, and they are doing well there. Because we don't have the facility here, we have people who don't care about what is going on in the public sectors. Right. Then we have what we are having today. So it's all about lacking the people who cannot fight the position, about not having trust in them, and about not putting the environment in a situation whereby they can work with it. No enabling environment for them to work. That is the situation on ground.
Barrister Abdulhamid, I would like to take you on another headline, which is not too far from this, where there's a headline: Serap has urged the Senate to reject Wike's 15 billion naira befitting residence fund for the vice president. Now, there's a story that came out how the president of the Senate, Nyesom Wike, requested
president of the Federal Capital Territory.
President of the Federal Minister for the FCT, came out to say that they need about 15 billion naira for a befitting residence for the vice president in person of Kashim Shettima. And this is coming after the federal government, have plans to borrow 7.8 trillion naira to fund the 2022-2024 budget. Yes, and that our public debt is now 87.4 trillion naira as of June. And seeing all of these ridiculous figures coming up on the dailies almost every day. First, it was the purchase of vehicles, presidential yachts. Now we're seeing this furnishing the vice president's apartment, 15 billion naira. I'd like to get your reaction to this.
I think, with that, the National Assembly, if they are truly working for the people, they should reject it. I think at this level that we are, we can't be spending that kind of money on a renovation of a vice president. Please, where the vice president is staying for now, I tell you, it's a bit. It's very. When if some Nigerians see that, that would be their heaven, and they want to replace. They want to refurbish it or renovate it with how many billion at this level. It's insensitive as far as I'm concerned, and it shows that those in government don't even know what we are feeling, what the people are going through. They don't know the economic situation of the country, or they know and pretend as if they don't know, or the hardship people are going through. The hardship is so much that you cannot be talking about renovation of house, even with 1 billion naira, not even talk about the one they're talking about. It's insensitive. Even with 500 million naira, as far as I'm concerned, renovation of any vice president house at this level is insensitive. Well, you don't have the money, we are borrowing money, and you are spending the money lavishly. You can see what our president did by COPs. They went with 1,411 delegates at this level where we're talking about when we're talking about the issue of no money. For me, it's insensitive, and it don't even Serap need not to even see anything. But the National Assembly to know that should not pass through. But I doubt if that will not pass through. The National Assembly that we have are not seeing what we are seeing. They are not interested in what we are seeing. What they are seeing is different from what we are seeing. They have a different objective and intention, and they only want to go along with the president, whatever the president or secretary is looking for, or whatever those loyal to the executive is looking for. They want to approve it and want to be in the good book, whether or not it will be against the people or not. For me, it's sensitive for anybody to even talk about the innovation of the house for even 100 million, talk less of a billion of naira.
Okay, Barrister Abdulhamid, don't you think there is a problem in issues or in scenarios where we are having this unholy romance between the executive arm of government and the legislative arm of government? Let me take your mind back a little bit. For the night assembly that left, the Senate that was led by Mr. Ahmad Lawan was seen as I'm just trying to get the right word to describe it. Was seen as
Rubber stamp.
Rubber stamp. If we use the word rubber stamp, you may not really define it the way some of our listeners may understand. It seems as the cap that the executive organ of government picks to wear at any time it pleases. That is the way the Ninth Assembly and the Ninth Senate was seen. Now, in this particular Senate that is being led by Godswill Akpabio, can we get something that will replicate what the first administration that Buhari experienced, that Bukola Saraki led? Because we need some form of disagreement between the executive organ of government and the legislative organ of government, if that is going to bring some form of balance to the way public funds are being dispensed in governance.
Unfortunately, in Nigeria, anyone that is after asking for accountability or asking for transparency is seen as anti-government, and that was why you see the campaign against the 8th Assembly led by Dr. Bukola Saraki. At that time he was asking questions. They will submit a proposal for loan. He will ask them, go and bring the details. They will tell Nigerians this is the man that is holding us, that is not allowing us to perform. So thank God he was not able to win the second term. Otherwise, they will say all the things we see thereafter against as per the incompetency of the former president of Buhari will not be seen. They will be placed on Bukola Saraki. They will say he was the one holding them down. He was not the one. He was the one not approving whatever the president is looking for. Thank God they have a rubber stamp assembly at that time. That was approving everything. Yet they would not see any difference. So for me, it's not only about those people too. It's about us. Whenever they know how to use us, and most people fall into it. They will bring out a campaign of calumny against a person who's trying to hold them into account, who's trying to do his job and see him as an enemy of the country. Dr. Bukola Saraki was painted as enemy of the country at the time. He was seen as the person who was not allowing the president to perform. He was seen as the one holding them down because he's not allowing them to do whatever they want to do at wish, which is the work of the National Assembly. For those who don't know,
yes,
the work of the National Assembly is not to just judge and be a department, the executive. They are to checkmate and they are to provide the check and balances, and then in other words, provide the executive. In other words, you ask questions from them. Then what we see today is a situation whereby a letter for request for borrowing will come today, and in 1 hour or 2 hours after it will be passed. That's not how to pass a bill. That's not how to pass a law, anything to law. Okay, for me, we are having people in this country at the National Assembly who is not interested in our people, in the people who doesn't even know their role. They don't know why they are there. They see themselves as part of the executive. They see themselves as not even part as a baby of the executive. And they don't even know the power they weigh.
Okay, one more thing, Barrister Abdulhamid. It looks as if the institution or the principle of checks and balance, where we have one arm of the government probing the other arm of the government, it seems as if it has become a thing of the past. Because when there was this proposal for 160 million naira SUV to members of the House to the legislative arm of government, there was this outcry. Nigerians were warning the People's Democratic Party lawmakers, the NNPP lawmakers, the Labour Party lawmakers in the National Assembly not to accept it because they feel the APC government is making policies that is depleting the treasury of the country. But they equally accepted it. So what is the voice of opposition here? Because this is another critical principle that makes for an healthy democracy.
For me, I don't even blame those members of the National Assembly.
They accepted it.
I don't blame them. Yeah, they do accept it.
No, I'm talking about the voice of opposition now, not just members of the
Listen, the National Assembly members should not be an opposition alone. Should not be that is the mistake we are making. We in Nigeria, we followers or Nigerians, we sit down, fold our arms, and expect only the PDP, APC, YPP, DCPP, or whatever, or those who are in political party to lead our cause in asking questions. We don't even see it as our own problem. They see it as political problem. In other words, politicians' problems. It's all our problem.
But these are our representatives in the National Assembly.
They are not they are representatives. How do they come into office? You people always fall for these things. They talk about Labour, they talk about PDP. Those in Labour today, those who are in National Assembly member of Labour today, tell me how many of them have not been in PDP or APC before. Some of them lost their election in PDP and they went to Labour Party and bought ticket, and you expect them to behave differently? Former leader of the Senate, what is his name? He lost ticket in PDP and he went to Labour and picked the ticket, and he wasn't going to behave differently. The man who just lost election in Imo State, the Labour Party candidate, he was a senator under the PDP, and you expect him to behave differently. When you attach this name of a party, and they will now look at it as once you are a member of this party, you are a saint. It doesn't work that way. We have to look at the individuals. One of these individuals that we are talking about did not win an election genuinely. Even as a Labour Party or PDP or whatever party you are, the majority of them did not win election genuinely. Primary. Most of them were imposed in their primaries. And that was how they came into office. And once you are imposed in the primary, once you get a ticket in a particular state, once you are in a particular party, you win election, whether you are good or bad. So for me, it's not about, if we are trying to rely only on the people who are into politics to defend our cause, we are on a long thing. And it will take us, we may not get the results. Because we Nigerians, we also have the right to also ask questions. We also have to ask for transparency. So it is not the responsibility of those in politics alone to ask questions. If they are not asking questions, we have the right to also ask them questions. Why are you not asking questions? Are we doing that? No. We are not doing what we are supposed to do. If we want to say, look, politicians, this is for the politicians, then we should leave it and then not complain again. The politicians are there for their personal interest. But politicians are there for their own egos and their profile. So if only a few of them are there, and if you have a fewer people in a democracy, what we say is that majority carries the day, and the majority have their say. Yeah. That's just it. So if you have fewer people in politics, when people who call themselves saints stay away from politics, and they expect people who will call wicked people, people who will call bad people who say that are not sane, and we want them to go and change the country to us. It won't work. We say politics is dirty, and people who are dirty are the one playing it. So those who say they are dirty, who are playing politics, and you expect them to bring out good for you, and it won't work. Or until when people who call themselves also have interest in this politics and became a part of it, that is when most likely we will have a semblance of a change. Right. As it is today, whether Labour Party, whether PDP, they are all politicians. They are all the same. One another. I don't see the difference between PDP and APC. It's not about the name. It's not about the party you belong. They use that platform just to achieve their own purpose. It's not as if they are. So we should inquire into their activity, into their life, into whether or not they have the capacity or they have the interest of the people at their heart. Otherwise, we'll be fooling ourselves.
Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for sharing your thoughts with us on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Listeners, I did especially. Good morning.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay.
No, he said something. They are all
the same thing.
The same. It's just the name that differs.
Well, this is the reason why most times when we interrogate the issue of political ideology, it will come to mind that, it fell flat on. I remember in speaking with Professor of Political Science in Unilag, and the core of our conversation was political.
Ibn
No, not Ibn I forgot it's Jadira or something. I've forgotten his name. Professor of Political Science. And he said there are no political ideologies in Nigeria. Or he didn't say there are no political. He said Nigerian politicians are not guided by ideology. Okay.
Right. But we have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Mr. Sales from Agodo.
Mr.
Osas.
All right, Mr. Osas from Agodo, please go on.
Yes. The first place, please, before I comment, you have to do me a favor. Speak to Barrister Abdulhamid to please. I want to have his number. Following him up right from Rainbow FM. Meanwhile, for the subject matter, what the president is going with such large delegation and the demand for how much billion for vice president is a slap on the unborn Nigerians. And we are keeping quiet. The last said it. Well, I know one die, I know one to this. My mother day for house, Papa day for house. That's why we caged ourselves in this country up to now. Until the Nigerians will decide to take the mantle, just like it happened, was it in Filipino or whatever. Chase all of them out. But how many will they kill? With sincerity of purpose, north, east, west, and to converge. They can't, those they send along the line, they will turn the gun against them. Enough is enough. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Osas. Thank you. I think we have some messages.
Yeah, but we would like to say, Mr. Osas, there is a procedure for change of government in the country, and through constitutional means which have to do with elections. So Nigerians can't, carry weapons against the government of the country, and we will not promote that. So if the Filipinos do that, we must not emulate that. We must, the north, the south, the east, and the west must converge together and vote out. Through an election, vote out corrupt government or people we feel should not be at the end of affairs, not through weapons of instruments. So we have some messages here. He says, good morning. Regarding the doctors moving out, you want them to stay, and yet their fatherland is not totally taking care of their welfares as their counterpart elsewhere. Yet government officials are well taken care of. Where is the justice? No love for homeland and development. God bless Nigeria. Soji from E4. I think it's still same Soji that sends the next message. He says, for Nigeria to grow and also develop, it is Nigerians versus the politicians. We are the only one that can put them on their toes as one voice. The politicians are all the same. Soji from E4. Thank you so much, Soji, for your thought.
Right, and would have really loved to take more calls and messages, but our time is fast spent, and our producer is looking at us like, what is going on? But you can still drop your messages. We'll do well to take them on the show tomorrow. 0907-224-5018 is the number to send your WhatsApp messages to. Remember to follow us across all of our social media platforms at High Impact 1021 FM and _news around the globe. I am Sarah Olsans. Until I see you next time, do stay safe.
I'm Oyinpriye Kromale. Good morning to you.
We have zero tolerance for mediocrity.